We'll call to order tonight's Committee of the Whole for the Auburn City Council meeting for April 18th, 2023. The City Council should have the minutes from the April 4th Committee of the Whole with any additions or corrections to those minutes. If not, is there a move to approve?
So moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the minutes are carried forth. East Alabama Mental Health Board.
Yes, sir. We have two vacancies. Terms begin immediately and end March 31, 2029. Incumbents Anna Hovey has served one partial, one full term, and Donald R. Cahala has served 3 full terms. For the first vacancy, that was for Anna Hovey, I'd like to nominate Susan Kanan.
Second.
All right. Have a motion and a second for Susan Kanan. Any discussion? All right, comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries, and we'll confirm that later on in the agenda.
All right, and for the second vacancy, I would like to nominate Kristen Herring.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for Kristen Herring. Any discussion? Thoughts, comments?
Busy lady.
Well, I think it's especially important to have someone who represents the school system on this board. I think it is a great connection and how they overlap services.
We're honored to have her.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. For Kristen Herring, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment, please?
Please.
Regardless of who we appointed to that, it's important for all of us to understand and realize that there are 20 veteran suicides per day in this country. So, I mean, anything that we can do through this board or any other means whatsoever to alleviate that problem. You know, there are lots of helplines and whatnot. If you know of anybody that's in a difficult situation, encourage them to reach out. So, thank you.
And I would like to say thank you to Anna Hovey and Donald Cahala for their service previously on this board. Thank you.
And we appreciate all of our applicants as well.
Yes, we did have a great pool.
All right. Board of Education.
Yes, sir. We do have one vacancy. Term begins June 1, 2022 and ends May 31, 2027. Incumbent Dr. William Hutto has served 2 full terms, and I would like to nominate David Warren.
Okay. Have a motion and a second for David Warren. Are there any other nominations? Okay, comments or questions about David Warren? I'll start off by saying I thought David did an outstanding job in his interview. He was well prepared. There was a lot of meaning and passion and research that went into his answers, and I believe he'll do an outstanding job on our school board.
I would also like to echo the comments that were made earlier about the pool of applicants that we had. It was just tremendous, and I would have been happy with, I think, all of them. So, very good field. It was impressive that people want to work and serve their city, and certainly have that high caliber.
Absolutely.
Completely agree, Sonny. We had an outstanding pool. We interviewed, for our public to understand, we interviewed 7 citizens, and they did a great job. And all of them really wanted to serve our children and our families through the school board, and I appreciate all of their willingness to participate. All right. All in favor of David Warren, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we'll confirm that later on the agenda. Questions on tonight's agenda for the city manager? Questions? City manager, anything for us?
Just want to remind everyone, we still have 3 vacancies on the Historic Preservation Commission, and we keep re-advertising that, and you have to be uniquely qualified, but we're trying again, and hopeful we'll have some applicants. We've had none the last 2 attempts.
Are the incumbents interested in continuing to serve?
Mr. Howard, do you have any idea?
I do not.
Have we contacted?
We did.
Yes.
We did, and they're not interested. One's moving, and the other 2 were not interested in serving.
Okay. All right,
Remember,
so,
you've got to be an architect, a historian of some sort, live in the district, or be uniquely qualified. And then those are mayor nominations with council affirmations.
and
So
all the information that the city manager just went over is on our website.
auburnalabama.org/boards.
So if you think this is somewhere you might be interested in serving our community, please go to the website, make sure you qualify under one of those topics and one of those, and put your
And
application
they
in.
typically meet monthly, but if they do not have business like a lot of boards, then they do not meet.
Sure. Okay, good.
I got a question about that. Okay, so, is this the second time that we've advertised it?
Third time.
The third time? So if nobody is applying for it and the other two applicants are not interested in it, maybe we need to lower the standards or something.
We can't, it's a state law
Oh, okay.
requirement. Because this board is the only board in the city that has a right to regulate things on your private property well beyond the zoning ordinance, such as fences, shrubs, the paint color on your home, all kinds of things. And so you have to be uniquely qualified to be working through that, and it's just a state law thing.
Oh, okay.
Great question, though, Connie. All right, anything else for the city manager? Okay, is there a move to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, we will adjourn the committee of the whole, and we'll move right into our city council meeting. It is after 6 o'clock right now. And certainly happy to have everybody here tonight. Thank you for all those that are joining through YouTube or Facebook, and thank you for all that are listening on the radio and WANI. And we certainly appreciate all of you that are attending with us tonight. Roll call, Allison?
Adams,
Here.
Koblentz,
Here.
Dawson,
Here.
Griswold,
Here.
Mormon,
Here?
Parsons,
Here.
Taylor,
Here.
Witten,
Here.
Anders.
Here. Before we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence, I just want to ask everybody as we go into the moment of silence to continue to be lifting up our neighbors to the north in Dadeville for the horrible tragedy that they experienced this past weekend. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and then a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Early this evening during the Committee of the Whole, the City Council has appointed Susan Kanan and Kristen Herring to the East Alabama Mental Health Board, and certainly I want to thank Anna Hovey and Donald Cahilla for their service. And then the City Council also appointed David Warren to the Board of Education. Certainly appreciate Mr. Bill Hutto and his great service for 10 years, and he's finishing up as the chairman of the school board, and what great service and what a great volunteer he's been for our community. Just a couple of things I just want to mention real quick is this past weekend I had an opportunity to go to two different events that really I believe was a great visual of how great and interesting and unique our community is. Saturday night I went over to Auburn High School to Seussical, the musical, and boy, to see the talent of our children that are in high school, and whether they were the actors, the singers, the people who constructed the backdrops, or who were working the lights and the sound, their leadership within the faculty at Auburn High, just a lot of support there, and what a beautiful program that was. I'm just really proud of our kids at Auburn High and the professionalism of that effort, and it was a lot of fun, and congratulations to them. And then Sunday afternoon, I went over to True Deliverance Holiness Church and watched the Auburn University Gospel Choir perform their spring show, and again, another group of young people. They were college students performing gospel tunes led by Dr. William Powell and his wife, who are very dynamic leaders. And it was a great time, and just gives you a lot of hope for the future that we've got young people that are trying to achieve great things and working together as teams to perform and to provide entertainment for all of us. I just appreciate all of them. This weekend's going to be really busy. We've got Bo Bikes Bama, so be careful. There'll be a lot of bicycles in town. And the first annual D1 Life Foundation Run will be starting at Town Creek Park on Saturday morning very early. Relay for Life will happen before we get back together on April the 28th at the Opelika Courthouse. If that is something you'd like to support, I encourage you to participate, get a team, and help us defeat cancer. And I want to remind everyone again, before we get back together, City Fest will be a week from Saturday, and I know Becky and her staff have been working really hard, as well as other departments here in the city, to put on a great program and a great City Fest that benefits all of our community, and we're certainly grateful for that and look forward to being out there and having fun next Saturday. Anything else from the council? Any announcements? Yes,
The
ma'am.
only announcement that I have tonight is that I want to sort of echo off of what the mayor said during a moment of silence, that we need to keep those people and families in our prayer, that a lot of kids lost their lives, a lot of individuals lost their lives, I'll put it that way. And it not only affect the family, but it affect people, all over around us, because we never know what's going to happen. We send our kids out in good faith, hoping that they'll come home, and when they don't, it's just a tragic, and it should touch everybody's life. and it was so close to home. We hear it on the news all the time, but when it's close to home like that, it really, really hurts. And when you know people, families that was affected by losses, you know, it just fills my heart to know that things like this can happen. Not only could it have happened in Dadeville, but it could have happened anywhere, and it's still happening. So I just want to also say to the Auburn Police Department, you know, just keep up the good work and try to protect our children, our families, and everybody, you know, that's associated with us from such crimes as this.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Anyone else?
I'd like to echo what Ms. Connie said. It's a tragedy. You send your kids out for a night of what do you think is going to be a Sweet 16 party, and somebody comes in and shoots a place up. But folks, I want to tell you, you can talk about gun laws, you can talk about this, and you talk about that. This is not going to change until hearts change. You got to change hearts. Change got to come through the family unit and the churches and people like that. It's got to reach out and reach. That's how you reach a community. Stronger gun laws would help. If you're caught with a gun, you shouldn't have one. You need to be put in jail and made to stay there a while. You shouldn't be able to get out of jail. It's just, and I want to reiterate, Auburn is not immune to this type deal. So we can have a moment of silence all we want, but you better have a moment of prayer where you get down and ask God Almighty for His blessings to continue on this community. That's what it comes down to. I admired the mayor of Dadeville so much. Mayor Goodman spoke up and spoke the truth about trusting in the good Lord, because that's the only that's the only one that can actually stop it from happening. So you can think what you want to think, but you better know where your blessings come from. And like I said, I can't imagine if my child went off in some senseless shooting like this. We got to get a grip on our youth. It used to be a commercial would come on television back in the 60s, back in the 80s and 70s. It's 10 o'clock, it's 11 o'clock, it's 12 o'clock. Do you know where your child is? Parents need to go back and know where their children are at and what they're doing and what they got access to. I was asked one time when I was police chief, do you search your child's room? I have one daughter. And somebody asked me, do you search your child's room to see what she's doing? I said, no, I don't search my child's room. I search my room. If they're under your roof, you search their room. You search your room. It's your house. You're paying for it. You keep up with your children. You got to be a parent first and a friend later. Friends come later in life. A parent, when you raise them, is what you got to be. And you can take it for what it's worth, but this is the voice of experience talking. I've seen a lot of death in my time, and don't ever want to see it again in Auburn. But we're one bad person away from that happening, and so please keep those families in your prayers, and the law enforcement up there. They'll never be the same after going to something like that. Their lives have changed forever, and I got a lot of friends up there, a lot of personal friends in law. Sheriff Jimmy Abbott, a good friend of mine. I know it's rough on him because he takes everything to the heart, and so just it's something I'm very passionate about. But keep Auburn in your prayers, because if we don't pray, it can come to this community. And on a lighter note, Megan Bucky's we've been very impressed with them out there on Cox Road. Sorry you couldn't make the grand opening; you wasn't feeling well, but I tell you, folks, that's something to see if you've never been in one. I would highly recommend that our city staff watch the way their staff runs that place. It make you feel welcome. They're on the ball. Not that we're not, but you can always learn. It's just something a country boy hadn't really ever seen before. So we're very impressed with it. And thank you.
You're welcome, Chief. Thank you for your words. Thank you for reminding us.
I have a couple of them.
Please.
Okay. Today is National Holocaust Remembrance Day, and as we get further and further away from the time of the Holocaust, we lose those who are survivors. So just please remember those who were part of that tragic time in our history. The mayor mentioned Relay for Life next weekend. I'm a member of the Pioneers in Purple, led by the Honorable Patsy Jones, who will whip everybody in shape, and she's very good at raising money. So just if you want to come out and support Relay for Life, just look for some of the female leaders of Pioneers in Purple. And then finally today, I had the honor to accompany the Auburn High School FFA chapter to Capitol Day, FFA Day, and Capitol Day in Montgomery. And I would just like to say a special thank you to Representative Joe Lovern, Senator Jay Hovey, Representative Jeremy Gray, and Representative Debbie Wood, who all took time out to meet with our young people today and show them around and show them what government looks like at the state level. And also, special thanks to the faculty advisor, Ms. Brooke Falk, for leading this team of officers to Montgomery today. It was a very special day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move ahead to Auburn University Communications.
All right, how's it going, y'all? My name is Jack Soidel. I'm a sophomore from Spanish Fort, Alabama, studying aviation management, and I will be serving as one of the next directors of city relations. My co-director, Lane Martin, unfortunately is not here this evening. She is at Greek Sing, which is a really cool event we have going on in Neville Arena tonight at 7 p.m., so I understand if you guys can't make it. Donation link is still open. They've already raised over $100,000 for Habitat for Humanity, so that's something we're really excited about. In other news, President Roberts was officially initiated last Thursday in the Gouge Performing Arts Center with former Tiger Governor Kay Ivey in attendance, so something I thought was rather noteworthy. McKenna Lakey, a former Auburn student, was awarded the prestigious Fulbright Scholarship, sending her to teach in Germany next fall. She received honors degrees in both social science education and history, as well as a minor in German here in 2022. And she's currently working on her graduate degree in social sciences education here at Auburn. So we're really excited about that for her. But other than that, that's all for me. I look forward to getting to know all you guys better in the future.
Thank you, Jack.
There you go.
All right, this time is opportunity for citizens to communicate to the city council on items on tonight's agenda. If you'd like to address city council on any item on our agenda tonight, now would be the time. I will say that there are a number of items under resolutions in particular that have public hearings attached, and if you could save those comments for the public hearing, we'd appreciate that. And then obviously at the end, we have citizens' communications about anything that would be on your mind. You have 5 minutes. Please give us your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Robert Wilkins, 261 Benson Drive, Auburn, Alabama. What I want to talk to you about is the 10A1. And the reason I want to talk about it is that when
There's a public hearing with that, 10A1.
Oh, there is? So I come back?
Please.
Okay. No problem.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I'm Luke Granke, 484 Lee Road 25, Auburn, Alabama. Requesting annexation later on. I guess I'm kind of learning how things operate here because I tried this once and I missed a meeting. But basically, what I was going to address is, so where we live, our families lived down that road for 10 or 12 years. We didn't really have plans on getting in the city, but we watched our road grow and development happen. Half our road was in the city limits. So this land that we live on now, this 21.94 acres, became available to us 4 or 5 years ago, and we thought this was a good opportunity, seeing how the city was coming to it, to buy it as an opportunity. We just started a family. That way our kids might have an opportunity to come into the city. So we built our house 4 years ago, and then Michael Allen Development built four or five homes next to us, discussing with him, and he stated to us he's bringing the city to us. So we're excited about that. Obviously our kids got older. We're like, well, this might be an opportunity time for us to consider getting in the city. That's when we learned about an optimal boundary, which we've never heard of before, which is kind of where we're in limbo at today. We have researched it some. Basically, what we learned is the city, based off what we read on the internet, was the city should consider anything that does not take many city resources. As far as I know, we would just be getting trash service. We already have a well, we already have power, internet. We don't need sewage, we got a septic tank. And everybody on a road, that's all we have. So we're not really requesting for additional services. And basically what we've read is those things should be in consideration, and it should be as a guide to consider anything outside the optimal boundary as a possible annexation. So we thought we had a good chance. Actually, I think in planning, I heard a good explanation. It seemed like as much of a leaner as possible is because our north line is nothing but city. Our whole road has grown to us, and now, we're hoping for an opportunity to be part of the city and have our kids go to schools there. And obviously we love Auburn. We went to college here. I met my wife at Auburn. We plan on living there for the next 20 years while our kids are at school. Hopefully they'll be at Auburn. So I just thought I'd speak on our case and what's in our thought process and why we would love to be considered, voted into the city. Thank you,
Mr.
guys.
Greinke, when your item comes up on the agenda, if you don't mind, if we have any questions, we might ask you to come back forward, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you. Mhm. All right, we're still at citizens' communications on items on tonight's agenda. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move ahead with city manager's communications.
Well, Mayor, that's your lucky day. I don't have any communications if you're ready for the consent agenda.
We are.
All right. Does any council member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and deal with that item individually?
Okay. Seeing none. Is there a move to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the consent agenda has been passed. All right, ordinances.
Under ordinances this evening, item 9A1 enacts the annual renewal of ad valorem taxes for city taxes, 5 mils for general purposes for the general fund, and 5 mils for capital projects debt repayment known as the special 5 mil tax. Council must annually renew the property taxes to authorize the Lee County Revenue Commissioner to assess city property taxes. This is a renewal of existing taxes, underlined, underscored renewal. These are not new taxes, and there are not tax increases. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
We have a motion and seconds. Anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Seeing and hearing none, any comments or questions?
If I may.
Please.
Taxes are scary. So I asked for some clarification from the staff, and this is what I learned. These taxes go back to 1995, in the case of the 11 mil, in fact, even before that. Back to 1960 for the 5 mil school tax, and back to 1894 for the 5 mil general fund tax. That's the first thing I learned. After totaling all these up, I noticed that it came to 54 mil. That's 26, well, actually it comes to 26 mil for the city, and I made a telephone call and got some more help from the city and found out there was 28 mil for the county. So total of 54 mil for ad valorem property tax. Now, if you have a house, as many of us think we have a house that's worth $100,000, and we have 54 mil in tax assessed against it, then it sounds like we're going to be paying $5,400 a year on our homes. But the good news is we don't have $100,000 homes. At least it's not assessed at that. So I did some math, and I'm going to try to recreate it in public here. But 54 mils against an assessed value, and the assessed value turns out to be 10%. So 10% of my
With the
100,000
homestead exemption.
for a homestead, right? It's twice that for rentals and other investment property and anything but primary residence. But 10% times that $100,000 home gives you $10,000 assessed value times that 0.054 or 54 mil gives you $540 that on my $100,000 assessed value home. So ain't it great to live in Alabama, I guess is the bottom line on that. So, the good news is $540 is a whole lot better than $5,400. And then, let's see if I learned anything else here. I don't guess so. What I'm saying is, it sounds horrific, but when you do the math, you realize that not only are you assessed at a much lower rate for ad valorem tax, if it's your primary residence, but also if any property. It has a 20% or double that. So how much does the city raise from this? About $35 million a year, which is about, in really raw numbers, about 30% of our budget. Is that fair to say?
We want the caveat to the school side. Allison, do you want to clarify?
So that 35 million is everything, general fund, special school tax fund, special 5 mil, that's all of those sources. Just keeping in mind that some of those are restricted for specific purposes, so.
And not all of it's straight into the city's general fund. A good
Right.
bit of it is going directly to the
About
schools.
about 6.5 or 7 that goes straight to the general fund, with the remainder being restricted.
Yeah, 21.8 million going to special school tax fund at 16 mils, and then 6.7 million, it's the special 5 mil tax fund, but right now dedicated to debt service for the high school.
All right, so what I learned is these are truly not new taxes. They're very, very old
Correct.
taxes, and this
Truly, yeah.
truly is done, I guess, every year.
Yep.
And so these are rookie comments, but I appreciate the time to express those to other people that may not realize all that. And thank you for your hard work and your information this afternoon.
I neglected to bring you the actual minutes. The staff walked into my office proudly with copies of the 1894 minutes, and that's why I told you it's as far back as we had in our records at this time. But yeah, it was a little funny because it's in cursive and hard to read, but yeah. And that's why we want to emphasize we're required to do this by law to get it to the revenue commissioner certified by you no later than May 31st, or the revenue commissioner cannot collect taxes that are due to us, which would be a lot problematic.
Well, I was gonna explain like Sonny did, but he cut me off.
I'm sure there'll be something else on the agenda.
I
for
guess
next
so,
Tuesday.
I'll wait.
All right, any other comments? All right, we'll go ahead and vote.
Adams,
Yes.
Koblenz,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Mormon,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons.
Yes.
Taylor.
Are we voting on all 3 of these, or are we just voting on one?
You have to do them individually because they're
Okay.
separate ordinances.
Okay, yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Anders.
Yes.
All right, item 9A2 enacts the annual renewal of ad valorem taxes for school taxes, 11 mills for educational purposes known as the Special School Tax Fund. Council must annually renew the property tax to authorize the Lee County Revenue Commissioner to assess city property taxes. This is a renewal of existing taxes. These are not new taxes or tax increases. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
Have a motion and seconds. Anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with the vote on this evening? Seeing or hearing none, any comments or questions? Okay, Allison?
Koblenz,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Mormon,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Anders.
Yes.
Item 9A3 enacts the annual renewal of ad valorem taxes for school taxes, 5 mills for educational purposes, known as the Special School Tax Fund. Council must annually renew the property taxes to authorize the Lee County Revenue Commissioner to assess city property taxes. This is a renewal, and it is not a new tax or a tax increase. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
Have a motion and seconds. Anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with the vote on this evening? Seeing or hearing none, any comments or questions? Okay, Allison?
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Mormon,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Koblenz,
Yes, ma'am.
Anders.
Yes.
Item 9B is a request from Luke Granke to annex approximately 21.94 acres of property located at 484 Lee Road 25. The Planning Commission did not recommend approval of this annexation at its April 13th meeting by a vote of 3-3. Ties cause motions to fail. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
Have a motion and seconds. Anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with the vote on this evening? Seeing or hearing none, comments or questions? And Mr. Grinke is here. If we'd like to ask him a question, we can bring him forward.
I'd like to ask him a question.
Please, Mr. Grinke.
Good evening.
Hey.
I just wanted to clarify a couple things, or really one main thing. You got about 22 acres. When did you purchase that property? You said about 5 years ago, maybe?
I believe it was somewhere around 2018.
Okay. And do you have any intention on like further developing this property, or do you have any intention of subdividing it any further?
No, the number one goal for us is, so we got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and now we're taking school into consideration now. So that's been our goal. We enjoy living on a lot of property. That's why we bought it. With the same idea that if we buy the land closer to the city and we watch how our cities, our roads growing, that is going to eventually get to us.
I got you. So you got 2 kids, and your primary interest is just getting kids into the school system?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay.
Does anyone else have a question for Mr. Grinke while he's standing there? Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the council? Questions?
I'd like to ask, Megan, if, this will be brought in rural residential, right?
The zoning would be rural, and rural requires, there would be no prohibition to subdividing it. You have 3-acre lot minimums, though, in the rurals.
Be 3 acres lots.
Yes, sir.
I would say I'm in favor of this tonight because I think more 3 acre lots around Auburn is what we need, and I think the gentleman is he's joined, I think, by city limits now, and I believe him when he says he wants to get his kids through school, and I think we're blessed to have a good school system, and I think anybody that wants to do this ought to have the opportunity to send their kids to school, and I think that we're growing in that direction. We're growing in every direction, but particularly that direction. We go all the way to, I think we go all the way to Gold Hill just about now on 147, and that's not near as far out there to that. So I would be in favor of it tonight.
Mr. Grinke, while you could subdivide it
Would you please come forward?
in the 3 acre lots, just to clarify, it's not your intent to do so, is that?
No, we built our house right in the middle of it. That was not our intention when we bought it. It's still not our intention. Our first goal would be the kids and taking advantage of the city growth.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to echo Chief's comments, and I think his goal is obviously the city school system, just like so many of us want to have our kids in the school system. And I certainly understand the optimal boundary and our need for that. I know that we're in the process of looking at that and discussion of that. So if that expands in 6 months, and we're going to be, Mr. Cranky's going to be coming right back before us here and go through the same process. So, I think he's got good intentions. The property directly to his north was annexed in 2019. It was outside the optimal boundary at the time. So, we've taken the property line, or the city boundary, right to his property line, and I think that's kind of why he's here and requesting this. So I'm in support of it as well. I don't think he's asking for additional services, anything like that. I think he's just like a lot of us, wants our kids, his kids, in our school system. So I'm definitely in support of that tonight.
I have a question, Ms. Crouch. Can you explain, when we annex, I understand that the city line moves, but how does the optimal boundary operate when we annex property?
So what's interesting is our late planning director, Steve Foote, was one of the first things he came to me with and said, why de facto, and I'm going to have our interim planning director correct me if I get off the rails here, we had been moving behind the scenes the optimal boundary as annexations change, and that's something we're going to be talking to you about coming up as we do this, and I've had a conversation with several of you about this. My planning lens as the longest tenured planner at the city would be we should never move the optimal boundary itself unless this body moves it. So even if you annex outside of it, so you know where the starting point was, I believe our intent is to keep the optimal boundary where it is, and when we renew that every 5 years, or you instruct otherwise in 2 years, you want it looked at again, then it needs to stay where it was, so it gives you a gauge. What Mr. Granke said is true. It is a guide. You're not compelled one way or the other. There's a lot that goes into it. He spent a lot of time researching. He asked a lot of questions. And we look at infrastructure, we look at impact to things, and we just look at general growth. We are bumping to the north, to Councilman Dawson's point. We're at the Chambers County line, and out in his ward, we're also at the Macon County line. We're not to Macon County in this part of what is Ward 7 now. We're not, but you don't have far to go. And so those are considerations that we make during that process of dealing also and interacting with one county government instead of three. That's been many things that we'll talk about in that process. So ultimately, and Kevin, are you seeing this any different, that the optimal boundary should remain where it is?
That is correct.
And I'm not saying what the recommendation is, but in the future, we're going to make sure there's no confusion. The optimal boundary where you set it at the end of the summer, when we get to that point, is where it will stay, even if you annex outside of it, so you have a guide to where it was.
Yeah, that was very confusing as I was looking at this as well, it looked like it fell right on his property line, and I learned too that it moves each time, so I definitely would support.
Absolutely.
keeping
There's
it
been
where
some
it is.
confusion over that, and I want to clarify once and for all in a policy that it will stay there. And then that way you can tell in a 4 to 5 year period what's been going on. And our only goal is to provide information to you to make informed decisions. It is certainly the call of the city council on any annexation period, and there is no such thing as precedent in one direction or the other. You have the sole authority on this.
Any other comments, questions? Anyone?
Do we have plans to look at this in the summer?
That's what we're looking at, but what I can't guarantee is whether or not this property will end up in the optimal boundary or not, even if you annex it. So remember that too, is we're looking at a lot of factors, and that's a staff recommendation, and you guys also have the right to move whatever it is that we propose. And it's a massive matrix. The department heads that you see sitting at the front here and throughout the room, everybody has input based on our services, our response times. You think we're building public works and environmental services in the far western side of the city. And the further north we go, that's a longer response time in storms to down trees. There's a lot that goes into this. It's not a simple thing. And part of what we'll do this summer is discuss that with you in the Planning Commission at length. You'll have a very clear understanding. And the edges are always the toughest part.
Very good. All right. Allison? Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I
please.
certainly understand Mr. Grinke's desire to be in the Auburn school system, but I just have to think back, this council, this body has disapproved annexation that was outside the optimal limits in the past, so we do have a precedent for honoring the optimal boundaries. And I have no doubt whatsoever that eventually your property will be inside the optimum boundary. With your children at that age, I think we've got some time, and we're gonna consider this soon. But I think those that have had their request disapproved will absolutely look unfavorably upon this based on our precedents in the past.
And to clarify, there isn't a timeline on a request for annexation, should it be denied of bringing it back to the body?
This was before this body in October, is that correct?
Yes, late last fall.
Yes.
Okay.
So there is unlike, and I don't want you to confuse this with some zoning actions and conditional use approvals and other things that do have ticking clocks. We did a lot of research on this, and there is no such clock on an annexation.
And you're not you cannot put conditional uses on annexations, meaning where you.
No, it's either in the city limits or not. So it automatically comes in as rural, and that's as far as you're getting. But are you saying to condition it in terms of ability to subdivide further? I have not seen that, and I would need some time to double check with legal counsel, but I don't believe that we can, but we're certainly happy to look into it if that's your desire.
Thank you.
I have one question. When it was before us, the last go, nothing has changed, correct?
No, nothing has changed other than the city council has changed.
Thank you.
Other?
I may make one more comment.
Please.
The last time this was before us, I was on the council, and I voted no, because it is my belief that we should honor and the integrity of the optimal boundary. However, a comment was made by planning commissioner, and even though it was a 3-3 vote, we had three planning commissioners missing from that meeting, so it's very hard to say how that would have turned out if the full body had been present. However, a comment was made by a commissioner that really spoke to me, that said, you know, we are maybe slightly behind in reviewing, and that when the optimal boundary was drawn originally, the anticipation of where we would be today in 2023, we've greatly outgrown. So it made me kind of reevaluate some of the aspects of what we're looking at, in addition to the fact that there's been some nuances of whether the optimal boundary moves or doesn't move with annexation. So for those reasons, it's curious to me that we're back here again looking at this, and it does shine a little bit differently in my lens for this time around. Thank you.
You know, I appreciate what Mr. Griswold said. And when Mr. Greinke was here the first time, we didn't get to hear him speak. There was some confusion that night. And so for a lot of our thought, there's 22 acres, you bring it in, there's going to be a rezoning that's going to be coming fast and furious behind it, and that could be a very dense subdivision out there. And that was certainly impacting my decision whether to support it or not. But understanding that you're wanting to raise your family out there, you're basically wanting to have one house on 22 acres and not take a lot from the city, but to have your kids a part of our school system, that does change the way I view this evening. Okay, anything else? Any questions? All right, Allison, please, roll call.
Griswold,
No.
Mormon,
Aye.
Parsons,
No.
Taylor? Yes.
Witten,
No.
Adams,
Yes.
Koblenz,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Anders.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Okay,
All right, you ready for resolutions?
please.
Item 10A1 is a request from Delta Development Group for amended conditional use approval for the following commercial and entertainment uses: brew pub, hardware store, hotel, motel, condo, package store, indoor recreational use of a, I rewrote package store, but it's an internal arena. There's also a request for road services uses of ATM, car wash, detailing shop, and gasoline service station. I want to remind you that they have a number of already approved conditional uses, and that's in your packet. This was in addition to, for property that is located at 2560 and 2600 East Glen Avenue in the Comprehensive Development District with a Planned Development District overlay. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request. At its April 13th meeting, with a removal, they put a condition of a road service use for a car wash / detailing shop. A public hearing is required.
Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. This time we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address City Council, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
Maybe. My wife and I are the owners of Delta Development, and we're the master developers of the Spring Lake apartments with retail. We appreciate your votes first time around, and I think we have hopefully exceeded your expectations for the apartments. They have done extremely well, 95% rented already, with even higher rents than was expected. So we've done really well. Now we're at phase 2, which is to develop our retail. We're excited about it. We do have a couple of things we'd like to add in addition to it, which is a hotel. The site is challenging. The 4-acre site is challenging because there is a gas line easement that runs through that site that belongs to Kinder Morgan, and they're quite difficult to deal with. They have no intentions of moving those lines, so the grading has already been complete. The site is ready to build on. There's nothing to be done. All that was pre-done. We've already put the red light in. If you haven't bought a red light lately, buy one. You'll spend all your money. But the red light's already in, turn lanes. So the way you see the site right now is exactly the way it's going to have to be built on. We can't add any more dirt. It's site ready. We would like the request for a hotel on the backside of that 4 acres. We know we're gonna end up with some type of height restriction because of the airport. Probably gonna be in the neighborhood of 600 feet, so it's not gonna be a tall hotel. We do request that though. It would be a great use for it. Because of the gas line, it's gonna be very restrictive on what we can get on that site because we can only put parking over that gas line easement, and it's not just a simple gas line, it is 2 main gas lines. One was built in the 30s, the other one in the 50s. So they've been there for a long time, they can't be moved. We requested to have those removed. It was millions to move those 2 gas lines just to the border of the property. So that just wasn't an option at all. So we did come to an agreement with them, and they agreed to let us build over that gas line. So the entrance road is going over the top of that gas line, but the gas line goes diagonal through that property. So we're asking for a hotel site on the backside of that. We feel like there's not that many things we can get there and put the parking out front. So we request the hotel site. We also are requesting a remote ATM if we don't put a bank on the 3-acre site. We do have interest in a bank on the 3-acre site, which would be a good use for that. It's not quite 3 acres, 2.84, it's an odd acreage. So that's a possibility. If we put a bank in, we're not going to be requesting a portable ATM. But we do have a very small little piece of property that's going to be hard to fit anything on, but we need to sell every inch of this property with the investment we have in the site work. Like I said, everything is ready to be done. We are requesting a approval for a mini mart, a food mart, which we think will work well with the apartments. With the business model of this gentleman that has approached us is he don't do any marts without fuel. So we are requesting fuel on the site. It will be very limited. We're limited by the Woodruff Company, who we sold the apartment site to. We have to go by their restrictions. Every building out there will have to be finished on all 4 sides. So there'll be no unsightly rear buildings for the neighborhoods or for the apartments. And their approval is going to be tough because they're not going to want anything unsightly from the apartment site. So if we do a food mart, we feel like that'd be a great fit for the tenants of the Glen, is what they have renamed it from Spring Lake. But we do request fuel and a mini mart on that site. And I think that's the only changes.
No indoor recreational uses?
Yes,
Yeah, they did request one.
Okay.
We definitely.
Okay, it's on our
Yeah.
agenda tonight. You hadn't mentioned it, so.
Right, that is a possibility.
Okay, it's a possibility. Okay.
That was a question I had. The list that you have here, does that mean you're going to build every one of those, or are these things that, in case somebody comes along and wants to do it, you want to be ready?
These are just possibilities.
Possibilities, that was the
Yeah,
word.
we just don't want to be locked into certain things. We unfortunately, it's not like it was 3 years ago where people were beating down the door to come build things. Interest rates are high. We know we're gonna have to go out there and market this really hard to attract businesses to this site. And that's why we brought the Woodruff Company in. They specialize in this kind of thing. They lease to hundreds of tenants in Columbus. One of the reasons we chose those is they actually lease to 3 Starbucks. We want a Starbucks on this site. We're going after them. So we're going to be aggressive. We're not going to wait for phone calls to come in. We're going to go after people we want. A Hilton and Marriott is the only 2 brands we would allow on this site. They do the best job, and they have more brands than anybody. So we're not going to allow just any hotel group to go there. That's the only 2 we'll allow to go there.
Okay, so
As I think you mentioned, there are some uses you took off the table. ATM,
No, we're adding the ATM to the list.
Okay, it says remove the following uses: road service uses, ATMs, car wash, detailing
So
shop.
staff is asking, that's a staff comment, asking you to remove that. They're requesting it.
Okay.
Staff is asking you to remove it, and the planning commission went in the middle and removed car wash
Okay, got it.
from their recommendation to you. It's your final decision.
All right.
And gas station, thank you. And on page 2 of 4 of the staff memo, well, I'm sorry, what?
They didn't remove, did they? It was just the, car wash detailing shop.
Correct. They just removed the car wash detailing shop, but the request, staff's request was for all road service uses and this request to not be included.
Okay.
And, you know, to further clarify on page 2 of 4 of your staff memo are all of the uses that were already approved previously in other iterations of the PDD.
So what is a condotel? What is that?
That's a residential, that is a building where the Laurel Hotel functions as such. There are some hotel rooms in that building that are pure hotel, but some people own condominiums in that building, and when they're not using them, they choose to lease them as hotel rooms.
Oh,
Does the council have any questions for Mr. Spivey while he's here? Okay, thank you. We'll call you back up.
Thank you.
Yep. Public hearing's still open. Anyone like to speak to the council?
Robert Wilkins, this time I'm right, aren't I?
You're right.
Yeah, 261 Denson Drive, Auburn, Alabama. Megan, it's good to see you. I know the mayor was totally lost with you gone, so. What I want to talk about was the 10A1. I don't live out there. I live just about a mile from here. So, but what's my biggest concern is all the things that happened with the short-term rental. I remember Mr. Griswold and Mr. Parson being so strong about the NC areas. In that area that all that stuff is going to be built, so forth, there's an NC place. You go down that road, when you come in, and there's a gate, a double gate that goes into those apartments. I deliver, for Uber, and I've delivered it for those different apartments, and I've delivered in that community. I'm just concerned there's so much being built around there. It's like you're just totally stifling that area. You open those two gates, they're not open right now, they got padlocks on there. But if you open it and they start coming through that community, I think it's gonna be a shame. And then second of all, building a hotel, I mean, you're already talking about hotel, looks like it's got a short-term rental set up also in the Laurel. But I can't understand the whole mechanism. The city of Auburn has just continuously grown and grown and built, and to me, it doesn't seem like there's any rhyme or reason to it. It's just being done. That area there, I feel sorry for that community. I'm surprised they're not here saying something. I don't think they realize how much is going on. Also, when you look at that apartment complex, you see all of it. Those people that are all along there, there's no barrier. There's nothing. You just see the whole complex. I can imagine a Laurel hotel being there too. Pretty soon they won't have any kind of view. They won't have any close fitness of that community. So I'm really concerned how it's being developed. And I think it's time that this council begin to look at when you build something. And of course, I know, they're already zoning set up all the way around. So I know, you're not going into the NC area, but you're still not abiding by what you said 2 years ago, that you believe in the NC, that the NC should have, no noises. Well, what's going to happen with all that? More noise, more people that you don't know who they are. I mean, it's just going to be a really big disruption. And I believe a long time ago, all that shouldn't have been approved, because I think that community deserves more than that. And I'm just concerned as the citizen. I have nothing to gain or lose from the situation. And the gentleman that came up that's a developer, he's got an awful lot of stuff planned for that. I know it's not going to do all of it because they didn't have enough property there. But anyway, it just bothered me. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Any questions or comments?
Got a question. This
Please.
plan that's in this master development plan that was here, was this revised, I guess, from the original approval? It looks like there was a hotel site on this original, and I don't know if this was original or
So-
not. So I was just curious why it wasn't included in the conditional use to begin with, if the hotel site was planned here.
The drawing that you're looking at, you're referring to Spring Lake Conceptual Master Plan. That one is the 2023 drawing.
Okay.
So in 2016, when this was approved, and that's, Mr. Spivey's now asking for that, there are many discussions about it, but the uses that are shown on page 2 of 4 of your staff memo were the only uses they were approved to have up front. To sidebar to the double gates that Mr. Wilkins is speaking to off of Indian Hills Road, that's a fire access and not any other access. Mr. Hoare, can you recall that? Yeah, I've been out there because we've had residents in Indian Hills ask about it. It's not for access for anyone else, but if we need to fight a fire from that side, there are gates that we can get open or ram a fire truck straight through and get faster access to buildings. And also, just as a general reminder, when you're looking at planned development districts, they don't deal with buffers. Once the actual uses go in, such as apartments or other things, and it's up against an NC neighborhood, buffers are required and typically in the 15 to 20 foot range, plus heavy plantings.
Anyone else? Questions,
Yes, I
comments?
have a question for the
Please.
city manager. Okay, the planning commission's notes, I don't see what their conditions were.
So if you go to the Planning Commission resolution, which is just past the staff memo, the next page over, it's got Kevin Howard's signature at the bottom, and it says, remove the following uses: road service use, car wash / detailing shop in the commission action. You see that, Kelly?
I'm looking.
Here,
Right
you
there,
want
you're
mine?
almost to it.
Yeah, I got it right.
Okay.
Okay, so,
So staff is recommending that Planning Commission actually do that, plus ATMs, plus a gasoline service station. And Planning Commission, in their motion, only did the car wash.
Detailing.
okay. So the planning commission is okay with a gas station?
Mr. Howard, they spoke to that during the meeting.
Yes, there was some discussion about both the standalone ATMs and also the gas stations, and ultimately they did not choose to include those as a condition to remove from the recommendation as well. There was a little bit of discussion about potential locations of the pumps, whether in front of or behind the building, but ultimately they were comfortable with including that as a use that would be allowed as part of this approval.
Okay. And can you speak to the staff's recommendations to remove those things prior to the planning commission basically picking and choosing what y'all recommended?
Yes, sir. So as part of this, we considered kind of the cohesive PDD. You've got the multifamily component. You certainly have the commercial components out front. We referenced our future land use map, which really goes back to PDD for this area. So, kind of looking through, what was the initial, conceptual master plan that was presented as part of this, seeing how it fits in with the rest of the community uses up and down the road. We did not feel that the road service uses were appropriate for this location, which is why we, recommended they be removed, but did not take issue with any of the other requested uses and felt that those were appropriate.
Thank you.
And just a little bit of history, a lot of you maybe remember 2016 about this, but there was much discussion about this being a commercial corridor and whether or not apartments were appropriate at all. So the compromise, just generally speaking, was commercial would be to the front to keep with that, and due to site challenges, the gas line Mr. Spivey mentioned and other things. We had even discussed, does this need to connect further back to other development in Opelika? And the gas line is very prohibitive for that piece, but the notion at the time was we needed adequate commercial uses, some of them, that's why the original list, and then obviously market changes over time, and it's not uncommon to have a PDD change.
And where on the 2023 Spring Lake plan is the gas station going to be located?
Yeah, but that's not binding, is it?
No, it is
No,
not.
it could be anywhere on that commercial frontage.
They identified it on this. During the planning, it appeared that it was gonna be on the site where the hotel section, that portion.
Mr. Spivey, is this still are y'all still using this as a guide, or is this what you're working off of right now, this plan that we have in our packet here tonight?
Is on the 2.84
Okay. Oh,
acreage,
decide.
not on the 4-acre site.
Okay.
The 4-acre site is where we're talking about doing the hotel on the back of that property, and then the parking would migrate down towards the gas line.
Is it on the road frontage of the 2.4?
All the 7 acres is road
Facing
frontage.
the road.
Yes.
But it is, council, this is not a PDD amendment, it's just a conditional use. So therefore, where the uses are placed, Mr. Spivey's been kind of provide us this map, but they can move within that area.
It's not like, I do want you to understand one thing. We're not pushing for a market with fuel. We're just opening up possibilities. Our prime thing we'd like to see there is a high-end restaurant go there, overlooking the clubhouse and the lake and everything that goes behind there. In today's world, though, are we gonna be able to attract a high-end restaurant to go there? I don't know. We plan to, but we're just opening up possibilities.
And I'd like to say I'm real impressed with what y'all have done so far, so.
We have, I think we've done a good job on phase 1, and we will do just as good a job on phase 2, which is
Thank you,
the
sir.
commercial.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second, all right? And so right now, Megan, would we be approving these uses less the car wash and detail shop?
Yes,
Okay, so
because that's their recommendation.
so that we're following the planning department's recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, you have the choice. You can leave it in, you can take it out. I mean, that's up to you. And I think it'd be better if you clarify.
Well, we have a motion and a second, so we didn't clarifar it in the motion.
Yeah, our,
So
traditionally, we take it as is with the planning commission
we
resolution.
take it as with the planning commission. Okay.
But, and I'm sorry, Mr. Spivey, you don't, unless the
Yeah.
public hearing is closed. So,
Yeah.
it's really your call. I would prefer you specify so that you guys are clear on what you're voting on. You have a motion in a second, but it's in a gray area, and I'd rather you just clarify you accepting their recommendation or not.
All right. All right, so before we move forward, is there any reason for Mr. Spivey to answer any more questions? Okay, all right, I'm gonna close the public hearing, all right? Okay, so we need to, do we need to redo the motion then to specify that we're removing, if that's what we want to do? I just wanna make sure we're following protocol the correct way, because we did,
I think it
I
would
don't
be
wanna
better
overcomplicate this. I
just
just
to
wanna get it right.
clarify, because it still is a recommendation of the planning commission, and Mr. Spivey may not agree with that recommendation, because his request was for all of the above, that you clarify that.
okay. All right,
Yes, you have a motion and second on the table, but is the motion and second with the condition the planning commission put in, or is it not? Who made the original motion, Allison?
Parsons.
Can you clarify, Councilman Parsons, in your
I'll
motion?
move to, that the condition as stated by the planning commission remain.
Perfect. And then who had that second?
Coblentz.
You good with that?
Yes.
Okay. That's
Okay.
what you're voting on.
all right, so
We'll
that's
just be
what we're
clear.
voting
Yep.
on. All right, everybody clear?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Item 10A2 is a request from Lee Tharp of LBYD Incorporated for conditional use approval of a commercial support use, a data center located at 406 West Veterans Boulevard in the Comprehensive Development District. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request at its April 13th meeting. A public hearing is required.
Move for
Move for
approval.
approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the city council, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Elizabeth McCray. I live at 830 North Donahue Drive. First of all, I would like to say happy 2023 to everyone. Due to health issues, I wasn't able to personally come back and thank you, Mayor Anderson, and the committee, and everybody else that participated in resolving one of the issues that I proposed.
Okay. Ms. McCray, right now, we're talking about this particular
sorry.
item on the agenda. I didn't know where you were going with this. I didn't know if you had a thought about on the data center.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's
I haven't
fine.
been
Can
here
you
in
wait
a
till the end of
minute.
the meeting?
Yeah,
I apologize.
I'm
I was trying to uncover what you were talking about. It's no problem. Yes, ma'am. All right. Public hearing is open. If you'd like to talk to the city council about the Mill Creek Data Center, let me clarify. Please come forward and give us your name and address for the record. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from the council?
I think this is a good fit for the area out there. Since the transparency, my dad's property joins this property on one side of it, and his neighbors we're impressed with what they're talking about doing out there. And I would like to commend the Phillips family, who longtime Auburn residents, and they own the property, and they could have settled for something less, and that wouldn't have been as desirable as this out there. But they chose to wait and found a good fit, so I commend them on where they do all the South colleges they own. They own the shopping center out there. It's always clean, immaculate looking, and they really care about what the community feels and does. And I want to thank our development folks for getting this particular data center brought in. And I think it'll be a good fit for the industry at park out there as it is already.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else?
Is this the one that we talked about in the packet meeting about the jobs?
This will have jobs, but the jobs are very high-tech, very high-paying, and it'll have a limited number of jobs, but they're excellent jobs, yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10B is a request from Stax Auburn LLC for an outdoor cafe permit for property located at 145 East Magnolia Avenue. A public hearing is required.
Move for approval.
Move for approval. Second.
Motion is second. This time we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address City Council, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record. Yes, sir. Then you have 5 minutes to address the council.
I won't take that much of your time. I'm Brian Worth at 211 South Gay Street. Kim and I are the owners of Stax Auburn LLC. We were up here a few years ago with the Collegiate Hotel, and we think it was a great success with the partnership of the city. This we hope to open up the next couple weeks and are looking forward to bringing something else to downtown that we think will be a benefit to the city and the community. Want to just take this time to thank Megan and her team, John Horn, his team, Kevin Howard and his team, and Katie Robinson. I didn't think she was here, but their team also in helping us put this together with you guys. And we're looking forward to having another business in downtown Auburn, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian.
And
we're
if y'all
excited.
have any questions, let me know.
Sure. Well, we thank you for your willingness to invest in our community. All right. Any other comments? Well, the public hearing is still up. Anyone else like to address the city council? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor, I need to abstain voting on this
All
one.
right, one abstention.
This is all about the outdoor eating, right? And no changes, right? There's
No
not gonna be-
changes. This is, Fusion had the same outdoor space. They're just asking to use that. A number of businesses spent a lot of money to elevate because of potential grade changes in the future and to make it match their buildings, and this is one of them. So it's just a reuse of the space, but because there's a change in tenant, we've got to redo their agreement. And that's the beauty of it. Every space that was vacated in downtown had a tenant in wait, so that's very nice. We're fortunate.
Any other questions? Brian, thank you for your investment. We appreciate it. Look forward to the business being open. All right. You have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Item 10C is a request from East Mag Investments LLC to assent to the vacation of a drainage and utility easement that has been there since the 70s and is not used for anything and has no public purpose in it, and to execute a quitclaim deed for the easement for the property located at 801 Ogletree Road, also known as Lot 2, One-Way Subdivision, First Edition. A public hearing is required.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. This time we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the city council, please give us your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes. Okay, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from the city council? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Item 10C appoints Susan Cannon and Kristen Herring to the East Alabama Mental Health Board for terms that begin immediately and end March 31st, 2029. This item was postponed from the March 21st, 2023 City Council meeting.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's already been moved, I guess. So.
Well, we had to pull it, yeah, you're right, it has, but we had to pull it off of consent because it was on there, so that's fine, you're right, you could just vote on it.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any comments or questions? All right. We don't have to have a public hearing. It's all in favor. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Mayor, those are all the items of business we have for you this evening.
Okay. At this time, we'll open the forum for the Citizens Open Forum. This is a 3-minute opportunity. Please share your name and address for the record, and please address your comments and questions to the city council and not to the city staff. Yes, ma'am.
I have an appointment, so I'm going to make this quick. Susan Bolt, 1188 East University Drive. On October 4th of last year, I came before this council and inquired as to the nature of training that occurs for our council members. I had a particular interest in the training regarding the federal and state constitutions, since I have seen violations of the 1st, 4th, and 14th Amendments by sitting members of this council. After being given a vague, non-informational answer to my question, I submitted a public records request in search of those answers. I was allowed to purchase a copy of the City Council Orientation Manual via my records request for just under $50. I asked about also getting a digital copy of the manual to share and was told that the council would have to approve that request since council members were not given a digital copy. Therefore, I'm asking you tonight to please make it so that that is included on the website so that everybody has access to that. There is a lot of useful information included in this manual, including departmental overviews, highlights of departmental accomplishments, as well as goals for the next 4 years. Now back to my original concern. On page 44, when speaking about our courts and judicial department, it states the City of Auburn provides a constitutional and statutory medium for the resolution of all misdemeanors, traffic offenses, and code violations within the Auburn police jurisdiction. However, when speaking about city government authority, page 7 tries to duck the federal constitution by citing the 10th Amendment and claim authority to self-govern. We saw in 2021 that this council usurped our federal constitution and took property rights granted by our federal constitution. I believe this shows a clear philosophy of our city government to garner any and all power allowed. A more recent example of this philosophy was the business license revocation ordinance presented to you that you so wisely corrected, and I appreciate that. State rights do not override constitutional property rights or other constitutional rights. Only the knowledge of our founding documents will keep this overreach at bay. Education is key. While reviewing this manual, it was made clear that this council sets policy and that the manager exercises oversight of the day-to-day operations. Because this position is temporary and finite for most of you, I'm asking you to make some edits to your training and training manual now to include the following items. Training for both new and returning council members to include a refresher of our federal constitution and how this guides your decision-making. The oath of office. The Bill of Rights of the Federal Constitution, guiding state documents for municipalities, constitutional review for the Planning Commission. And lastly, I want to thank you all for your service on this council and the time that you commit to it. I know it does require a lot of time. How about that? Right on it. Thanks, y'all.
Who'll be next?
Maybe a third time is a charm. My name's Robert Wilkins, 261 Denson Drive, Auburn, Alabama. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to right a wrong, okay? This council in less than 6 months has broken away from the behavior of past Auburn councils. Past councils were controlled by the city bureaucratic system, its mayor, and influencers. The council, in its short tenure, is doing its due diligence with each issue, such as business license control, library books issue, and more. Today is tax day. I just mailed mine a little bit ago. But I realized something when I did the taxes. You 5 council people that voted for the short-term rental, let's see, Griswold, Parsons, Dawson, Taylor, and Mayor, you as a group took away tens of thousands of dollars from me and my family. I don't, it angers me, to be honest, doing my taxes, realizing I had a lot less income that I could pay things with. The last council refused to collect the short-term rental taxes from 151 Auburn families by approving Ordinance 3288. Instead, sent us to court. The City of Auburn has spent at least $200,000 for personnel, truck, software to monitor we, the short-term rental families, plus fund spent for defending the short-term lawsuit that is in Alabama Supreme Court. But the worst of all is the council members did not do their due diligence on this issue. Over a 29-month period, not a single one of you looked at what the task force did have, and the task force never had any recommendations. How many people would it be affected? How many complaints were made about short-term rental in those last 5 years? Why did you not go into the ward and get your constituents' opinions instead of just having people come to you? I just want to know why. Was Ordinance 3288 done for the protection of all the new hotels that have been built or being built? Nah, no way. 80% of short-term rental income came from the Auburn football games and the Auburn graduation. There will never be enough hotels in this town to satisfy that need. You can build them all day long because they got to make a living. Was Ordinance 3288 done to protect Miss Dean's group? No hotels for our neighborhood? No. The quality of neighborhood that has not changed. Still quiet and wonderful as it was before. The city manager and city lawyers, I believe, have guided you in the wrong direction. 7 of you were not even in the lawsuit at all. You can speak to me. You can say I'm saying things wrong. You're allowed to do that. You're in control, not the bureaucrats in this city. So speak up. Oh, I got to stop. Thank you.
Mr. Wilkins, your comments of calling them bureaucrats is condescending and inappropriate. They're staff, they're people. I know that's your opinion, but I disagree with you. I didn't call you back up here. You can sit down now. 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 Please. Who would be next?
Good afternoon.
Good to have you back.
Okay. Can you stop the clock? Wait a minute. Okay. I'm Elizabeth McCray, 830 North Donahue Drive. Due to health issues, I wasn't able to come in, and thank you, Mayor Anderson, and the rest of you all for y'all being able to resolve one of my issues that I had last year concerning the cemetery issue. I do have other issues that I feel need to be addressed, especially within the cemetery guidelines. We're starting to have thefts in the cemetery now. So I feel a great need for some changes. You know, when people start stealing at the cemeteries, then I feel like we need to do something. And also, I would like to give special thanks to Miss Cerie Carr, who took the time to go out to the cemetery and replace the items. And I would like to give special thanks to Dr. Rodriguez Cook and Katrina Cook for their work that they have done in my community as far as restoring, I'm gonna call it the pastor house out across from Bell Baptist Missionary Church that they are members are, and I am too. And also, I'm in the middle of things now because I'm the ward too, Mr. Kelly. And when you all rezoned or redid whatever, it put me in the middle of things. Well, I grew up on this side, northwest side, my community. And I still see a lot that needs to be done to improve, you know, the community there. I'm also concerned about a lot of historical sites, not only there, but the historical sites within the cemeteries. You know, we got this, I'm trying to go fast, right here on Dean Road.
Baptist Hill.
Baptist Hill.
Over here, right, Pine Hill. Those are historical sites. So anything that's historical, I feel that we should reserve it. Do y'all feel that way? I mean, you know, let's keep some of the history here. You know, I remember, I got great memories here I grew up here. So now what we gonna do, since I'm in the middle of, how am I gonna work this out in trying to, you know, I'm still seeing things on this side that needs to be taken care of. So.
Well, Ms. McRae, any of us will be happy to talk to you, and certainly you can come talk to me, and I'm sure Ms. Taylor and Mr. Griswold will be happy to entertain any concerns or questions you have regarding the
So I can work on
theft.
both sides.
Yes, ma'am. Regarding the
Okay.
theft, have you contacted anybody from our police department regarding the theft? The concerns with theft?
No.
Okay.
I have to see it in the news. I keep up with stuff.
Okay.
And
Referring to
I
the
saw
vases
some
being
theft
stolen.
Okay.
By Memorial, some
ma'am.
urns.
Yeah, they're-
Something was taken. So I don't want anyone to take my sons out. If they're still in the night, well, I mean, it's been happening anyway. It just got here. But it's been happening elsewhere in the country.
Well, the city manager, the late Ms. Taylor from Ward 1, Mr. Griswold from Ward 2,
So we
or the
can
mayor,
work-
we'll all be happy to talk to you.
Well, thank you all.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a blessed day.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good to see you again. Who will be next? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Marcia Businger, and my address is 254 Hedgerow Circle. I currently serve as the chair of the Auburn Public Library Advisory Board. I'd like to let you know that April 23rd through 29th is National Library Week, where all over the country library users express their appreciation of their local libraries and the hardworking staff who provide them with services and resources for everyone in their community. This is the 65th anniversary of the first National Library Week, celebrated in 1958, and the theme of the week this year is There's More to the Story. So let's have a bit more of the story about Auburn Public Library. One important part of Auburn Public Library's story is the incredible job the staff does of outreach to the community. Tonight, on the consent agenda, the council approved the budget for a van to be used to take the library to its users where they live in parts of the city not located close to the Thatch Avenue Library location. And I certainly want to thank the city council for that approval. That van is going to mean a lot to many, many Auburn residents. It will be used at numerous community events where library staff will register people for library cards and learning challenges, promote library services and programs, and create positive experiences for the community. At several of these types of events, library staff will give away books to all ages and reading levels. Here are just a few of the events where several hundred people will be in attendance. The Summer Learning Challenge finale at the Boykin Center, several Auburn Housing Authority block parties, National Library Card Sign-Up Month at Boykin Center, weekly service hours at the Auburn Senior Center, where about 100 participants get technology assistance per month, pop-up early literacy programs. The 2023 spring break at Boykin had 190 participants. Auburn Daycare Centers at the Boykin Center, the Boys and Girls Clubs of East Alabama at the Boykin Community Center, the van and the outreach work that the Auburn Public Library does will be involved in those events and many more. They will also be involved at various assisted living facilities and daycare centers around town and other neighborhood and community pop-up events with story time or library card and learning challenge registration opportunities. All of these events reach hundreds of Auburn citizens. This is just a small part of the bigger story of the impact of the Auburn Public Library and that it has on the community and how much it means to so many citizens. On behalf of the advisory board, thank you very much for your support of your public library.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. That's fine.
My name is Bonnie McEwen, and I live at 722 Queens Way. I'm here tonight as the vice chair of your Library Advisory Committee. And I want to tell you a little more of this story about our great library. But I'll start out by thanking you for your support for the new building on the Boykin-Donahue campus. In many ways, your library staff is already collaborating with the Boykin staff to provide services now and learn how best to use the new space once it's completed. Let's start with the collections. The staff is rotating 350 volumes from Thatch to a mini library available to visitors at Boykin. In addition, users can request books for pickup at the mini library. Their selections are being tracked to inform which books are purchased for the shelves in the future. In addition, the collection for Boykin is already being built with a $15,000 grant from a major library granting agency. In a similar fashion, the library staff at Thatch gathers information about the services needs at Boykin by providing on-site library services. Right now, it's 6 hours a week, but it's gradually increasing. A story time is offered often during the Saturday on-site hours. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And a weekly family story time will be offered this summer. In addition, there have been special sessions to assist with technology. As a board member, I can consider it a part of my job to attend the wonderful events planned by the library to familiarize the community with the services of the library. These events help citizens sign up for library cards and make sure everyone has fun while they are there. The library has organized many events at Boykin, including Library Card Sign-Up Month events, early literacy programs, and author events, including a presentation by Lisa McNair that attracted over 100 attendees. Over spring break, the library hosted an event that included a puppet craft activity, Kona Ice, games, and a puppet show. 190 people attended the event, and 148 of those registered for the Spring Learning Challenge. I can't wait to walk into the beautiful new facility when it is a building buzzing with energy as children attend story time, aspiring entrepreneurs use the resources and the librarians' expertise to find the information they need to prepare their business plans. As senior citizens find reading materials and technological assistance, and all of us have a second library location to add to what makes Auburn a truly wonderful place to live and work. In the meantime, there are some wonderful library services already available at this
Thank you, Ms.
location.
McHugh. Thank you for your service. Anyone else? Okay. Is there a move to adjourn?
So moved.
Got one.
No, we're good.
Oh.
We're
She raised her hand.
Oh, she did? I didn't see that. Excuse me.
didn't, not until he closed it.
Martha Shamp, 307 Camellia Drive. I sat in a restaurant today and I looked through the window at a man cutting grass hedges. He was doing yard work for the restaurant. He had on a navy blue t-shirt. He looked very happy, and it had his name on it. It said Morris, clean and sober since May 2017. He was vitalized and doing very good work in the sunshine, and he was proud of himself. Why can't the library get clean and sober and not high on the drug of desecrating the moral values of our community? The traditional family. Why can't the library get ethically sober and clean up their act? Stop sexualizing children.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
That's an accusation. That's inappropriate.
You've seen the books with your own two eyes, sir.
By all means, bring the argument that you're not happy with the content of the library. That is within your right. But when you start descending into absurd accusations about people, it's just too much and shouldn't be tolerated.
May I have a minute back? A minute back?
Yes, ma'am. Please go forward.
Thank you.
We know your argument already. You've repeated it, and we've told you multiple times that this body has no purview over the library, but you seem to insist that what we're telling you doesn't work or something. I'm not quite sure of your logic.
Mayor, now y'all can do what you want to do, but you're not being fair to the lady. She hadn't named anybody personally. She hadn't attacked anybody personally. She said the library, she's got a right to her 3 minutes, and I strongly object to.
She does have a right.
I strongly object to not giving the lady her time. Now, she has her time. She's a citizen. She's paying for that microphone. She's got a right to speak her 3 minutes.
We reset the clock to 2 minutes, which it was 1:36 when she asked for more time.
I don't have a problem with her having her 3 minutes.
She has not
but when
attacked
she
anybody
descends
personally.
into calling.
Has the floor.
when she descends into remarks that are an absurdity about what our staff is doing in this library, it's a little much to tolerate. But by all means, have your 2 minutes if you can keep to the argument, which I think your argument is you don't like the content of the library. Is that your argument?
She has a right to speak 3 minutes without being interrupted.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Why can't their books encourage virtue, purity, respect for the children's bodies, which are the temple of the Holy Spirit, not a sex toy to be passed around like a pack of cigarettes? AIDS is still incurable. Unwed parents have a hard road. Promiscuity ends in disease, sorrow, and abortion. Why is the library drunk on lies and happy to demoralize the children of this town with their fatal media? Is this God's will? The seraphim closest to him say, "Holy, holy, holy, Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. Holy, holy, holy." God calls people to holiness. Or books that show explicit sex acts, threesomes, unnatural vice, disordered passions, and appeal to base instincts that destroy children's purity? Are these good? Are they holy? You have the authority to remove these toxic items. Yes, you do. Please make your move and do so. Help the children. Clean up the library. A grateful nation will be forever in your debt. Thank you.
Do you need any more time, Ms. Shamp?
Oh, no, sir, that's good.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would respond, if I may.
Yes, sir. Could you wait just a second? Please, Bob.
There are countless families here, responsible families, who use our library as it's intended. If they have questions from their children about any matter, they use our library as a resource to help educate their children, entertain their children, and I believe it's the parents, each individual parent in our community is different and has different children who may ask different questions, and I'm very thankful that our library has the content, age-appropriate content for responsible parents, for any parent of that matter, to use as a resource in their child's development. And to demonize a library in its totality based on one small section of the library that has, I believe the staff has done great work addressing concerns about content, and yet the complainant returns and returns without acknowledging the efforts and acknowledging the wide array of valuable material in the library. And it's a little hard to listen to people accuse our staff, many of whom I know personally, of these outrageous claims of criminal behavior. It's so, Chief Dawson, I do tend to jump a little quickly, but I would insist that she has her 3 minutes as well. But it seems a little tough to allow somebody to vent their spleen in a way that directed at our city staff without a little bit of pushback.
Yes, sir.
Hey, thank you. Good evening. My name is Jeff Walker. I live at 2078 Autumn Ridge Way. I was invited to come to some of the city council meetings beginning of the year, and I wanted to tell all of you I've really appreciated it, and it has been eye-opening to learn all of the little things going on in our city every 2 weeks. In the last city council meeting, I think it was extremely insightful the speaker that came in and talked about the process in our city library of being able to review books, what the process the city citizens have if they don't believe something's appropriate. And I think one of the most interesting pieces was when he said that we looked at the process, we actually reviewed some of the books in question and relocated certain items that were misclassified. If you go into the library, there's a lot of books in there. Sometimes things are going to get misclassified. And having this process that allows the citizens to say, I'm not sure this is in the right place, have someone review it, and have examples where things were reclassified, I believe shows a working process inside of our library. And I appreciate the library staff and all the hard work they do for it. And I just also wanted to say how much I appreciated coming to these meetings. It's weird. I feel like I must be getting old because I enjoy coming to city council meetings. But thank you all of you and appreciate it, and please keep up the good work.
You're welcome. Who'll be next?
Mayor, if I may,
Please, Chief.
I apologize, Chief, real quick. Mayor, you need to close citizens' communications.
We'll
if
close
you're
citizens'
finished.
communications.
Thank you. Sorry, Chief Dawson.
let me make it very clear where I'm coming from. I'm not saying I agree with this lady or not. I'm not saying I agree with anybody else in here. I'm not saying anything about it. But unless you get up here and personally name someone, you got a right to continue to have your 3 minutes to say what you want to say. Whether I agree with it or not, this is the United States of America, and I will fight till my die. And if it were to be tonight, or as long as I can talk and speak, I will fight for anybody's right to speak on whatever they want to speak on, as long as it's decent conversation. It was not vulgar conversation. It was not hate speech or anything of that nature. She simply gave her opinion of the library or library board or whatever. She has a right to do that. This is a city run by citizens. It belongs to them. It doesn't belong to us. And I very much resent when someone can't have 3 minutes to speak. Now, Bob, I like you as a person, but I think you're dead wrong on this one. I think like I said again, my forefathers died for our rights in this country, and I'll do the same if need be, because I don't care whether I agree with you or not. Whatever you got to say, I will back you for your 3 minutes. And that's America. And if we've gotten to the point we can't say something we don't agree with, we're in bad shape in this country. You got to give the right to speak your mind about whatever. I don't agree with a lot of things people get up here and say, but I'm not going to interrupt them unless they say something vulgar or attack someone's character. Say they name Tommy Dawson, attack him personally, I would have something to say. If they name Bob Parsons personally, I'd have something to say about it. But as long as they talk about things they believe are going on or not going on in the library, I think it's a crying shame when you can't have your 3 minutes to speak. If you don't want to do it, take the 3 minutes away. Quit having it. Quit having the 3 minutes. Don't have citizens communication for 3 minutes. Take it all out. If you're going to have it, you got your right to say it.
Anyone else?
Ms. Crouch, I would just like to end by saying thank you for your leadership and thank you for the fact that we have a very strong library staff that has weathered the last several months of criticism and critique. And some of it has been very positive and has created opportunities for us to improve. And I appreciate your leadership and your direction of that. And please convey to the library staff and the library board that as I sit as a council member, that I appreciate the work that they've done.
Certainly will. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd echo that. If any of you ever need any kind of support from me, I give it without question. It's a sad day when such a community, such a generous component of our city is smeared in such a thoughtless way.
Anyone else? Chief, I appreciate your passion, and I appreciate you holding us accountable about allowing people the time that they deserve. And you're exactly right. I do think as the mayor, there's a line that sometimes is crossed, and when people's character is sullied, I believe I have to speak up to that. And saying that we're sexualizing kids, I'm not smart enough to prove that if that's right or wrong, but I know that's a nasty accusation to make towards somebody, and I believe it's inappropriate. We're not perfect. There's not a department or an employee that works for the city or an elected official that's perfect. And we're all to be held accountable by the citizens of this community, every one of us. But what I do know is that calling people names and making accusations that call into account immorality is not the way for us to get better. This has been an interesting situation. I have learned a lot about how our library works, and shame on me for not understanding it at all. But we have a system in place that we have evaluated and talked about and thought about a lot over the last couple of months. And I'm confident that we are doing the right thing to evaluate what is going on as we move into the future. And everybody knows how important this is, and I believe that we're moving forward now. That doesn't mean that every person that lives in this town is going to agree with every single thing that's in that library. And there might be a time that as a parent, you might say, I'm not taking my child over there. I'm not going to go to that section. That's your choice as a parent. You don't have to do anything. Parents need to be parents. But what I do know, calling people names and defaming their character is not going to make Auburn better. It's not. But I appreciate everybody up here. Everybody up here's got a great opinion. Everybody up here's been invested in talking about this and wanting to make our city better, and I'm grateful for that. I sure am. All right. Do we have a move to adjourn?
So moved.
Let's adjourn.